Well, Donald Brown, thank you so much for joining us today on Aaron's Opinion. And thank you for joining me so quickly after only meeting me yesterday in the group over on Facebook. My question that I ask any guest here on the podcast, and you can take it in any direction you want to go with all of your writing and work that you've done throughout your life. I have to only ask one question that will set the stage for everything else. Who is Donald Brown? Go right ahead.
Well, my name is Donald Brown, like you said. I live in Beaumont, Texas. I'm 57 years old. I'm an ebook writer and publisher. I write and sell ebooks. Um, I enjoy going to church. I enjoy visiting with people. I enjoy getting on Facebook and meeting new people and so forth. And I just love life in general. I love doing lots of things whenever I can. when when I have the money to do so, that is. But other than that, I'm just a basic run of the mill individual who's easy to get along with.
Sure, sure. Well, that's really good. I want to expand on something you said already. You said that you are an ebook writer and publisher.
Uh,
So, for those who don't know, what are ebooks? And then, how did you become a writer? What do you write? How did you become a publisher? How does all of that work? Because I think that's critically important.
well, to define an ebook, it's an electronic version of a book, of a printed book, and everybody knows what a book is. But think of that as a in digital form. You don't flip pages, you don't touch the book. It's all digital, like everything else is today, pretty much. And they come in many, many different formats. Now, when I publish a book, I don't put it in the typical Kindle format or EPUB format or nothing like that. When I write my books and publish them, I publish them as plain text. And when I say plain text, I'm talking about just the like on a computer the .txt file format, the plain text format. Now, the reason why I do that is for accessibility because many of your ebook formats may not be accessible to those who are blind or visually impaired. So, in order to get my work out there, I rather publish in plain text because it'll reach the widest amount of people. It'll reach the most people. I don't use the Kindle platform, like I said. I self-publish, so I sell my own stuff. Go through a publisher I don't go through a publishing company or anything like that. I just sell my stuff. I actually have a Facebook page called the Plain Text Bookstore, and everything in that store is, like I said, plain text. And I write on topics like internet marketing. I do internet marketing writing. For example, I write stuff about how to make money online, how to create ebooks, and how to treat your customers, things like that. But I also write on Christianity. So kind of a strange couple of genres there, but I do write on Christianity as well. And that's pretty much it for the that I do that and publish them online.
Right, right. Well, that's really good. So, how did you first get into writing your own content on internet marketing and how to make money online? So, a lot of
Uh,
people today.
hold on
Oh,
for
sure,
just a sec.
sure, sure, sure,
Hold on
sure,
just
sure,
for a
sure.
second. Are you there? Yeah, I'm in the middle of doing a podcast. I can't talk right now. Well, I just called to tell you to see me doing that. Yeah, over there. I'll call you back after I'm being interviewed. All right, bye. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
My mom had
That's all
popped in on
right.
an
That's
accident.
that's the beauty of the podcast to show our real lives. So, sure, that is
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
no worries.
But yeah,
So
but
I
yeah,
think I
the
was asking, how did you first start writing about internet marketing? And there's a lot out there about making money online,
there is.
So what's your philosophy? How do you approach that?
Well, I got in there. in earnest, I got into internet marketing back in 2007. I was a part of a. I met two not well. I say met. Oh, I did meet them personally eventually, but I met two individuals that were doing internet marketing, and I got under them, and they started a program called the BOSS program, which stood for Blind Online Success System, and it was basically a we were supposed to set up a program for the blind to help blind people learn internet marketing. And that's where I got involved with writing because, like I said, I love to write. I've always loved to write. I enjoyed writing even before I got in with these two marketers. And uh, when we started the Boss program, I did a lot more writing under them too. But that's how I got started in earnest with my online writing. And that program didn't last too long. It just didn't pick up very well. We had some members, but and it was a free program. It wasn't paid. It was free, so you didn't have to pay for it. You just joined, and they taught us how to do basic internet marketing stuff. But just to kind of make a long story short, um, the couple that I got under was kind of dishonest, so the program kind of fell apart, and it wasn't picked up any further. But after that, I still kept up with my writing. But yeah, with internet marketing, there's a lot of things you got to watch out for. You got to watch out for the scammers, the people who make a bunch of bold claims that aren't true just to get you to buy their stuff. There's a lot of junk out there, a lot of junk out there. But in my honest opinion, if you want to make money online, you got to have your own product, whatever it is. It can be an ebook, it can be an audio, it can be a podcast, it can be video, but it has to be, you really have to get into your own stuff. Joining these companies where you're among three other people trying to make money selling the same product. I mean, there's nothing wrong with affiliate marketing, but affiliate marketing can be kind of difficult because everybody and their uncle is going to be selling the same exact product. And so you really have to be unique when you're selling affiliate stuff, because how are they gonna buy from you if everybody else is selling the exact same thing? You got to set yourself out among everybody else. You got to be unique totally. So with my writing and stuff, that's what I do. I'm unique in the way I do things. I put my own spin on the products that I create, but I'm honest. I'm sincere. I'm transparent. I don't pull the wool over people's eyes. When I say that something is a certain way, that's exactly the way it is. And I don't cheat people. I try to be as honest as I can, and I don't dabble in, you know, marketing strategies that are under the table, so to speak. I just don't do that stuff. I don't try to. I know one time I got and one thing that marketers will use is the word training. They use this word a lot, especially when they host teleseminars or webinars or like that. They call these training calls, but actually most of them are not actual training. They call them that to get you in. But once you get into some of these things, it's a sales pitch. Is really what it is. They will talk a little bit about something, but then they really dive into their pitch. And I got in on one of these about a year or so ago, and the guy called it training, but I went in and I got in on it because I was interested in the topic that what they're talking about. But he never told his subscribers that it was going to be a sales pitch. All he said was that if you join the conference, you could win 100, 200, or $500, but you had to be on the entire call for that. So I thought, okay, I knew I wasn't going to win anything, but I went on there anyway. The guy gave maybe no more than 5 minutes worth of stuff that could have been found for free online. The whole rest of the call was a big, huge sales pitch for his program. And of course, you know that the guy is going to give people the winners are going to be the ones that join his program. It's not going to be just anybody. He's going to pick ones that join his program. So I was really disappointed about that, and I thought, this guy is not true. He's just trying to money grab. He's trying to, yeah. There's nothing wrong with selling your program, but tell people you're selling. Don't just trick people into getting into a call, and then, oh, by the way, I'm still in my program. Here, you're gonna make much boatloads of money, blah 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 blah. Most of these programs, hard people just don't. I mean, not everybody makes money at them. A lot of people flop. So when I do stuff, I'm honest and sincere. I don't want to do that to people. If I ever do hold a conference call like that, if it's training, it's going to be training. If it's going to be a pitch, I'll tell them this is a sales call. Learn about my whatever I'm selling, whatever it is. I'm not going to label it. I'm not going to label it training and then trick them into coming in just so I can pitch them to death.
I think what you just said, I hope that the listeners, especially the blind listeners, are listening to that. I didn't expect for you to say any of that. Of course, that was all things that I knew for many years, and I appreciate and thank you. And really, God bless you for speaking up about that and being another voice to say that, because this is a serious problem that we have right now around the world with these fake online gurus, all
Yeah,
over the place. And having nothing to do with blind people, they're taking advantage of a lot of people, blind or not. Personally, I'm going to give out my opinion, and people are going to disagree. I think blind people are probably more susceptible to these gurus than
yeah, they
sighted
are.
people, for sure. Of course, if you have a disability, you're probably at home. You're at home more. You're more likely to be looking up these things online. So just thank you for speaking up and continuing to educate people about that. Quite frankly, and this is going to come across as extremely harsh to you, but I think you're going to appreciate me saying it. I think we need, as a society, I think we need to outlaw a great portion of this internet marketing stuff, because so much of it is hurting people and so
Oh
little of
yeah.
it is actually helping, that I'm pretty convinced that at this point maybe we should just make, I know I'm kind of being facetious, but maybe we need to make online marketing illegal. What do you say to that?
Well, I wouldn't make it illegal, but like I would definitely make. I think what they need to do is I mean, the internet needs to be more regulated in the way people uh, do stuff because there's so many dishonest people out there. And I mean, you could. I'll give
Yeah.
you a good example. If you go and read someone's sales copy, especially internet marketing stuff, maybe not so much other stuff, but internet marketing or to make money online niche, as it's called. In the make money online niche, you get all these so-called, like you said, so-called gurus who claim that they can teach you how to make trillions of dollars. And I get emails saying this young kid just made $30,000 a month.
Liar.
Well,
Scam.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, liar, liar,
It's an
pants on
absolute
fire.
liar.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and so you go and and most people, a lot of people grab on that and say, "Oh, this young kid do it, maybe I can do it too." But what they're not telling you is that so-called young kid is getting help that nobody else is going to get. They're getting they're getting they're getting special treatment because these kids, whoever they are either marketers' own kids or the friends of another marketer's kids. They're special people that get help from these so-called gurus that nobody else is going to get. So they get, that guru is going to promote their stuff like gangbusters. And so, yeah, they're going to make boatloads of money because they're underneath that guru, and that guru is going to make sure they make money so that he can then go online, send you emails through his autoresponder saying, oh, you can make all this money too, and blah, blah, blah. And you see it all the time, even in sales copy. You have all these success stories and people all raving about the product or raving about the success they have. And they always show screenshots of money earned. And screenshots, now this is for sighted people here. Screenshots can be doctored up, they can be falsified. There's actually ways to go on there and make a fake PayPal screenshot.
Of course.
So you can do that and put that on and say, this is the money I made this month. I made $30,000 this month, $100,000 the next month, whatever. And people latch onto that like ugly on an ape because they see it, they see the video of it, or they see, oh yeah, or they see the Photoshop, and they don't realize it's Photoshop, but they see it as that image of the amount. They're always waving their money in your face, and not about the
let
and
me
nothing
just
about
Donald, let me just disappoint you ahead of time.
uh
I'm not telling you how much money I make, and I'm not telling you how many subscribers I have because all
well
those things
no
can be faked. You know,
yeah
and the silly stuff is why it's just weird that people believe that stuff. You know, it's kind of strange that people are so gullible to believe that. Why should someone else show me how much they're making? It makes it less believable to me. You know,
yeah
just the fact that they're going. It's almost like a good analogy I can parallel here. It's almost like, you know, if you have a court case and you have one side of the argument, you see one guy that comes into the courtroom with three lawyers, and then the other side of the courtroom, the other party comes in with two lawyers, and I'm the judge. Let's just say, well, who do you think I'm going to think is more guilty in whatever they did or didn't do? I'm going to be thinking that the person with three lawyers is more guilty. You know, it's like
yeah
they go out of their way to make us to make some people think that they're really knowing what they're talking about. It actually makes them look more incompetent, actually, because you
yeah
should even okay. Let's say Donald. I'm not saying you aren't talented. I know you are, but let's say that you did make $250,000 a year. Okay, number one, if you did, that's your own damn business. Number two, you shouldn't be showing me a picture of it. You know, so
no
it's like, you know, I don't really get that. I don't really get that. I mean, can you explain like the psychology behind that marketing grab? Can you explain the psychology
it,
behind that? Because I don't
it's
understand.
it's very simple. The psychology behind that is that they want you to believe that you can make that same amount or close to it. So they wave all this money in your face because their product is a make money product, but they leave out a lot of stuff too. They don't tell you everything that you need to do, and even if you do follow everything that they tell you to do, it doesn't guarantee you anything at all. You're not going to make money just because you follow all their steps because every business is different. The demographics are different for each person. The way you market is going to be different than anybody else. So one person may use that same system and make $100,000. Another person may use that same system and make zilch, nothing. And it all has to do with the way they implement it. But even if you do implement it, it doesn't guarantee you're going to make a boatload of money off of it. There's just no guarantees. There are people out there that will say they can guarantee you'll make blah blah blah. They can't. That's impossible. You know, it's you can't do that. And
And
all these
it's
sales,
impossible, and of course, it's impossible for the philosophical reason that no one can predict the future.
yeah, no one can predict the
So
future.
that's why it's wrong. That's why it's not believable. If we can't predict the future, then you can't guarantee acquisition of wealth.
And not only that, on these sales letters, a lot of times they will they will talk very little about the product itself. They'll say stuff like, "Oh, it's as easy as one, two, three," or here's a good one. It's as easy as copy and pasting. And I'm thinking, really? And we all copy and paste every day, but there's no business that's actually that easy as copying and pasting. They'll make all kinds of little bold claims, but when it comes to the product itself, they don't really show you how it works. They don't really show you any details. They'll mention it, but they don't go in there because their focus in the sales copy is to sell. It's just to make you believe you can make all this money. And if they don't tell you up front what something is or how it works, 9 times out of 10, or even 10 times out of 10, it's a scam. It's not worth it.
Yeah, yeah. So then the next logical question that a listener would want to know is: so if they go to your store, how can they believe you?
Well, I don't. My store on Facebook's not very fancy. It's very simple, but each ebook has a descript. There's a description for each ebook, and I just tell them what the book is about and what it covers. And then there's order link at the bottom or underneath that, and then there's an email link. Because what I do when I sell a book, I always tell people that they need to email me with their name and their the product name that they ordered, so that I can send them the product that they ordered. Because I'm using my PayPal me link, which is where you can send people money through PayPal, you know, individually that way. So I use my PayPal me link, but because I use that, there's no way in PayPal for that to set it up to where they can automatically download the book. So I send. That's another thing. I don't put my books online for them to download. They get sent after the person purchases the book. The book gets sent directly to their inbox, so they don't have to worry about going and downloading off the internet or nothing. Nobody can steal the book because it's not put out there for people to go and steal. But I do send it to them once their order is processed. But yeah, like I said on my books, there's descriptions for them, but I don't wave money in their face. I don't say, well, with this book you're gonna make boatloads of money. I don't do that. I tell what the book is about, but I don't go
So
into
what are
other
some?
extra
So
stuff.
what are some of the choices? What are some of your titles that your different topics? Just in the marketing department, what are the different titles that you have?
Well, I have. Let me go in here real quick because I don't remember them all right off.
Sure, sure.
Let me go into that group. You're gonna hear my computer talking over here, so
That's welcome.
let me get into here. Let's see here. Okay, let's go to. Okay. Okay. Gonna take a little bit for this to load here because it's collecting all the stuff here. Let's go. Okay, here we go. Here we go. I got a welcome message on there too as well. Let me get to one of my topics here. Okay, Info Product Mastery. This is my most recent book called Info Product Mastery. That basically just talks about creating information products like ebooks or audios or videos like that. And I wrote that. And let's see if I can get the description here. And okay, the description talks about how about the ins and outs of creating information products and so forth. And that's what the book is about. I just basically in each description tell what the book is, and then let me go to another one here. Okay, here's another one. It's not marketing really, called Building a Large Music Collection. And this one is kind of neat because it talks about um, how you can build a very large music collection using um, using Spotify, Amazon Music, and so forth, and not have to pay a bunch of money to build a large collection because you can do it through the music services and so forth.
Good. That's excellent.
And so there's a different variety of topics on here, just depending on what you want. I don't have them categorized really. I just list them, and And each book is $2.99 a piece. That's the price I have for each one.
That's good. How did you come to determine that price,
Well,
$2.99?
kind of based on what I see on Amazon. When you look at Amazon's prices, they're kind of around that area. Now, I did find some books on Amazon that were more than that, but as a rule, from what I see from Amazon, they're everywhere from 99 cents to $2 and $3 on up, depending on what you get. But most of them are really cheap. So I stuck with the cheap model because I figured that, selling them cheap is going to be better than trying to sell them for a gazillion dollars, because if you sell them for, unless the book is really outstanding or is in a very competitive, a niche that I'm pulling a lot of money, you don't want to price them too high. So I just sell them for $2.99 a piece. And because they're in plain text, they can be read on any device. They can be read on any platform. So you don't have to worry about having to download the Kindle app to read them. You don't have to worry about downloading the Adobe PDF reader to read them because it's plain text. And any word processor, text editor, or any program that can read plain text will open them.
This is really important. This is really valuable. So, what have been what have been your, I guess, analytics? In other words, do you have blind customers from all over the world that are benefiting from, your knowledge of these materials?
Believe it or not, most of my customers have been blind people, only because I market these books to two groups I'm a part of. That these are not Facebook groups; they're blind buy or sell trade. They're buy or sell trade groups for the blind. Uh, you may have heard of them. Uh, the one I'm thinking of, the Blind Mice uh, group. I don't know if you've heard of the Blind Mice Swap Shop group. I think that's what it is.
Vaguely, I have
Yeah.
vaguely
Okay.
heard of that one.
I sell my stuff through them, and so I'll put a listing up there with what it is I'm selling, and
Mm-hmm.
not everybody buys, but some people do. I don't expect the whole list to buy from me, but hopefully a few will, and they have. And those two groups I'm a part of have bought. I've tried selling to the public. I still sell to the regular public, but it's a lot of people, as far as the sighted, don't really buy into my books. But I would like for them to, but a lot of people don't. But the blind community, they seem to be more likely to buy than the sighted. But that doesn't mean I don't market to everybody because I do.
Sure, and of
Because
course,
I market all.
a sighted person could read the ebook just as well if it's plain
Yeah,
text. They
they
can
can
just
read it
look
just
at it.
as well. Yeah, they can read it just as well because I'll be honest with you, I hate Microsoft Word.
Mm-hmm.
Word files Word files are not good for digital distribution because they're proprietary. In order to read those files, you either have to have Word itself or some program that can open Word. You can't just pull up a Word document in Notepad. It won't work.
Right.
I mean, oh well, it'll work, but you
Not
can't read it.
well.
It's gibberish. Yeah. So you have to have a proprietary format. So plain text, okay, yeah, plain text doesn't have all the fancy fonts and the eye candy that everybody's used to. But the cool thing about it is plain text will outlast every digital file format there is. It's been around for years. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Word and all these other fancy file formats are owned by companies. The Word format is owned by Microsoft. They own that. So you can publish in it, but they own that format. That means you have to have their stuff or something equivalent to their stuff to be able to read it. And that's a drawback for me because why should you have to be stuck with this particular reader or that particular reader just because you want to read a book? I mean, at least that's my take on that. I mean, I
Sure.
want my books to be accessible to everybody,
Sure. Sure. Sure.
and their screen and text is screen reader accessible.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what, for blind people, no matter what screen reader you use, plain text is accessible.
Did you have to go through any process though to get? I know you self-published, but still, was there any process or any hoop that you had to jump through to get your text like legally published? I know it is legally published, but you know what I mean. Were there any barriers that you had to overcome, any hoops to jump through to get these things published?
No, because like I said, since I self-publish, I don't have to. I don't do this. All the copyright stuff. I don't mess with all that stuff because it. I mean, yeah, I know copyright protects the book and so forth, but it really doesn't. I mean, think of it. Remember back in the day before we had the internet, books were all in print, and even though they were copywritten, what's to stop somebody from taking that book to a copy machine, copying it off, and distributing it, as is. I always tell people that the copy schemes or the copy protection schemes or the digital rights management that we have now, where you can't copy the book and you can't distribute it to another e-reader, that can all be done away with just by reading the book. So, in order to make your work foolproof where nobody can get access to it and copy it, you might as well not write it. But if it's
Right.
written down, if it's written, if it can be watched or heard, it can be copied. And
Yeah.
I don't I'm not advocating piracy here, but I'm
No,
just
no.
saying that it can be done.
Right,
So all
right.
these all these
And anytime you're on a podcast or a YouTube channel, or I know that anything that I'm saying can be downloaded by anyone.
yeah,
there's no life, there's no personal flotation device. There's no life ring. I think is what it's called. There's no lifeline. Yeah, there's no lifeline to these
yeah,
things. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
no. And so you got this, like I said, the whole copy protection thing. It just makes things it puts books in what I call prison because you can't, for example, say you go to Kindle and or say you're looking for a book that you want to buy on Kindle, and you go in there and you try to search for, oh, it's not there on Kindle, but you go to Nook, it's there in Nook. But the problem is, if you buy a Nook book, you can't read it on Kindle because it's formatted to the Nook uh, file format. So that's a big issue because that means that Kindle doesn't have that book, but Nook does. So you're going to go Nook to buy that book. So Kindle just lost your business because it's locked in a proprietary format that can't be shared across platforms. You can't load a Nook book into your Kindle app. It won't
Right.
work.
Right. Right. Right.
Whereas plain text, it goes everywhere.
Well,
Plain text
that's
is,
beautiful. That's
yeah.
really, really, really good. Excellent. The other thing too that I want to dabble in, and I definitely want to hear what you have to say about it. So, you said that you've written some things about Christianity. What have you written about that?
Well, um, I might offend some people here, but
That's all right.
one of my books I've written, and this has got a weird title, but the title makes sense. It's called A North Korean Regime in the United States. Okay, I,
Ah,
I perked up everybody's ears now. No, this is not a political book. It's not about the United States turning into North Korea. It's about the Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, there again, I'm going to be offending some people. That book talks about all the false teachings and deceptive practices of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And the title represents how they are. They are a North Korean type religion. They control your thinking,
right.
your it. They have what they follow what's called they follow what's called the BITE model. The BITE model, BITE, stands for behavioral, information, thought, and emotional control. That is what they do. They control every aspect of your life from cradle to grave. If you're born in that religion, you are controlled from cradle to grave in that religion. You're told that that religion is the only religion that tells the truth. You're told that that's the only religion that God uses to communicate to mankind. That's not true. He communicates through the Bible. They don't want you to read the Bible alone. They want you to read the Bible along with their material because their material is what indoctrinates you into that religion. It's a terrible religion. Just to show you one of the things that I talk about in that book, their disfellowshipping policy. Yes, they do excommunicate people, believe it or not. Back in 1947, they have two magazines called the Watchtower and the other one's called the Awake. The Awake magazine of 1947, I don't remember the exact date, but in 1947, they railed against the Catholic Church because the Catholic Church was excommunicating people. The Jehovah's Witnesses said, no, that's unbiblical. That it's not scriptural to excommunicate people and all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. A short 5 years later, they implement that very same practice. And it's still going today. Matter of fact, it's stronger today because they've included people who are trying to fade from the religion are also now shunned. So they shun people big time. It's a big thing in that religion to shun people. If you don't follow the Watchtower's direction, if you even have negative things to say against their governing body, boom, you're disfellowshipped. And when you're disfellowshipped, nobody talks to you. Nobody can send you emails. Nobody can send you texts. Nobody can call you. And if you go to the Kingdom Hall, which a Kingdom Hall is where they worship, that's what they don't call it a church. It's called a Kingdom Hall. They go there. Nobody talks to you. You have to sit in the back, or you do sit in the back because when the meeting is over, or just before the meeting is over, you leave real quickly just so you don't, you know, do whatever. But nobody talks to you at all. They act like you're dead, and to them, you are dead.
Do you know what? I'm sure you can predict what I'm going to ask next.
No, I can't predict.
So how do you know all that?
Well, back in the early 90s, I studied with the witnesses. I never was baptized as a Jehovah's Witness. And that's another thing. To them, baptism is not the same as a Christian baptism. With a Christian baptism, you're baptized in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, right? With them, it's they baptize you in the name of the Father and the Son and God's spirit-filled organization or spirit-directed organization. So you're baptized. Their baptism is a contract, and once you're baptized, you're bound by every rule they put forth. When you're not baptized, they don't really hold those rules on you as strictly as they would if you were baptized. So I never got baptized. I studied with them for a very short period of time in the early 90s. But what got me away from them was just that control thing that they do. And what happened, I was living in Houston at the time, and me being visually impaired, I have to use sighted guide to walk with people, as a sighted person. Anybody that doesn't know what sighted guide is, basically a blind person would take the sighted person's elbow and the person would guide you, down the street or wherever you're walking. Well, it just so happened that one of the sisters of the Jehovah's Witnesses Kingdom Hall I was going to happened to see me walk down the street with this lady that was living at the apartment complex I was living at. And I think we were going to the grocery store. And she saw me walking with her. Well, the next time I saw that sister, she picked me up to go to the Kingdom Hall. She was counseling me on that, saying that because I was walking with her, that lady that I was walking with was considered bad association. You see, everybody that's not a Jehovah's Witness is considered bad association. Everybody that's not in that religion is considered under Satan's religion. So the lady I was walking with was considered bad association. They don't want you having friends outside of the religion. All your friends should be only in the religion. So I quit. I went to a few more meetings and so forth, but I got out of there because now my mom thinks that I got out of there because they don't celebrate the holidays. That's another thing. They don't celebrate holidays. But no, I got out of it because I saw the control that they had. It wasn't the holiday thing. I love holidays, but it wasn't that got me out. It was just the control that they use. And this was back in the early 90s. And so I never really got indoctrinated fully with them. But I did a lot of research. And that's how I came up with this book because I started doing a lot of research online and
Good.
finding stuff about them. And that's how I wrote the book.
Right, right. And this is utterly utter. I mean, I knew all of this information, but just to get to talk to someone who's had some of that experience, I mean, that's utterly fascinating. Has there been any repercussion since you published that?
No, because it hasn't gotten out yet. I'm sure there will be, but there's been other books written by
Mm-hmm.
now these people that wrote these other books, a lot of them are ex Jehovah's Witnesses. They were once into religion fully and they got out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna happen. But you know what? The Watchtower organization it's eventually going to fall. It's already in the process of that because with all the online stuff where people can find out the real truth about that religion, it's out there and they know it, and it's affecting them big time. It's all the court cases of child molestation. They've got the Watchtower is really into that. They've got a huge database of all their child molesters. They never turn them over to the police. They never do because it will bring reproach against Jehovah. They say reproach against God. I would think God would want people to turn these criminals in, not keep them in the Watchtower organization and let them continue doing their stuff. But
Right.
that's not how they think. They want to keep them in. Some of these child molesters have high positions in the organization. They're elders. Some of these are elders. Some of them are just up there in the organization with higher positions, and nobody in the congregation knows that they're a child molester because they're not even allowed to tell the congregation, "Hey, we have a child molester among us." So yeah, it's bad. It's real bad.
Well, well, there you go. And I mean, I've heard that story on several other podcasts. I forget which ones in particular. And I'm not going to name drop them, but I'm sure you've listened to other podcasts about that topic. But this is utterly fascinating for me to get to talk to someone who's basically a survivor of that. That's utterly, that's pretty fascinating. That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I was
Um,
fortunate. I was fortunate to get out because
yeah.
if I had stayed in longer, I'm sure that the repercussions after breaking out of it would have been far worse. But I really had nothing to, I really had no problems getting out because once I got out, since I wasn't fully indoctrinated, I don't experience the things that a lot of the ex Jehovah's Witnesses do experience because a lot of them that have been in the organization for a long time, when they get out, they're still fighting with the organization in their head because they've been taught all this stuff. So some of them are still scared. Oh, I'm going to die in Armageddon because I did this or I did that, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
And
what's that whole yeah, explain that. What's that whole the Armageddon concept? Yeah, explain that. How what's that
they
about?
they teach that at the Battle of Armageddon. Now the Bible says Armageddon is going to be in one location. It's not going to be Earth-wide, but they believe it's going to be Earth-wide. Their version of Armageddon is Jehovah God and his angels and everybody that's with him will come back and destroy the earth. Will destroy mankind. All of mankind will be destroyed except for the Jehovah's Witnesses. They will be protected. You know how that is. But everybody that's not under that religion is going to die by Jehovah. They're going to be killed at Armageddon. So that's a fear tactic that they use over their members, even because they'll tell them that if you leave the organization, you will have left Jehovah and you will die at Armageddon. So that's how they keep people in the organization is by giving them all this fear of living on the outside. As a matter of fact, the average Jehovah's Witness, if you're born into it and you've lived it your whole life, you really don't know what the outside world is like
Right.
because all you're told is everybody out there is bad and evil, you know. But it's funny that while they're talking out of one side of their mouth, oh, everybody's under Satan, that organization has been associated with the United Nations for a while. Now they're not no more because they got caught. But they would rail against the United Nations. Oh, it's part of Satan, blah blah blah. But yet they joined as an NGO, non-government organization. Their claim was with that was to get a library card, to use their library. No, that's not true. They joined that because anybody that knows what the United Nations is, they got in there so they could lobby or they could work with them to get their organization into other countries. And they still kind of are involved with that in a way because that's how they get their stuff into other countries. They try to prove to them that they're a legitimate religion and blah, blah, blah. And they want to get into this country and yada, yada, yada. Russia banned them. And thank
Along
goodness it
with,
did.
and I'm not going to name drop it, not because I'm afraid, but because I don't want to peel too many layers. But the other, I'm making I'm doing air quotes, the other church, that something starts with a S name, the other quote unquote church, was
Uh,
also banned out of. Yeah, you know which one I'm talking about. They were also banned out of the Soviet Union too.
yeah,
And it's not at all surprising. The irony there is, of course, the Soviets, arguably want to control the world in other ways. It's kind of also too. That's also kind of an irony all in itself. But utterly, absolutely, utterly fascinating. So, what do they think about? I mean, I understand you weren't in really long enough to be, you know, I mean, I'm not saying this in a judgmental sense, but you're giving me the impression that, quite frankly, you didn't give enough. You didn't give enough. Luckily, you didn't give enough money for them to think that you were a blind person of any value or importance. But so, speaking of that, what happens to any of those blind people who get into this type of thing?
that I don't know because I didn't know any other blind people that
Right.
got into it at the time, so I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure what happens. But yeah, they are they are big on money. Um, you you do have to donate to them, and you do have to buy things from them, but it's not now the stuff ain't very expensive, but you still have they still want you to pay for certain things. But as far as them asking me for a lot of money, they didn't really. I mean, the reason why I got out, like I said, was the control thing. But I really wasn't pressured in anything. I really wasn't even pressured yet to get baptized. Now, once you're in there for a while, they do start pressuring you to get baptized because that like I said, baptism to them is a contract. Because this to show you how serious they are about the baptism. A Jehovah's Witness sister will not date a Jehovah's Witness brother that's not baptized. They don't matter of fact, they don't really date in that organization. If they
Yeah, they
do
don't
date,
date. Yeah.
they date. Their version is dating. Their version of dating is you find someone that you like, you date them because you want to marry them. So it's jump into marriage right then. And believe it or not, a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses will get married at a young age just because here again, the guys want to have sex. And I hate to say it, but it's true.
Right.
You know, they want to have sex. And their rules on sex are bizarre. I mean, for example, I mean, I don't want to. I hope that there's no kids listening to this,
No, no,
but
no, no. This is Mark. No, this is an adult. I on purpose market this and set
okay,
this up so
all right,
children are forbidden to listen and are forbidden to
okay. Well,
participate. Yeah.
okay. Well, the reason I'm saying that is because one of their rules that they have is kind of funny, but they actually say it's wrong to masturbate. So they say it's against God, it's against Jehovah to masturbate because you're doing self sex or whatever they call it. I don't remember what they labeled it as, but masturbation is wrong. Now it's not a disfellowshipping offense, I don't think, but it is wrong. They say it's wrong. So these guys don't, you know, do whatever. And so their sexual desires are all pinned up inside of them. And so that's one of the reasons why the child molestation is going on. Because you can't lock up your sexual desires to the point that you let them overtake you. Because once you do that, then things start happening. So then they start marrying sisters at a young age. And a lot of these Jehovah's Witnesses marriages don't last very long because they end up in divorce. The husband either beats the wife. And by the way, a wife that's being beaten by her husband, she's told to stay with him. She's told to go back to her husband, be a good wife, and Jehovah will fix it. But it don't always work that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a sad religion. It really is.
Well, it's not. I mean, I would argue, and this is an opinion show. This isn't a fact show. My opinion is it's not a religion.
No.
It's right. Would you agree? It's not. It's not really. It's not a religion.
Well, it is a religion, but it's more. I kind of like the title of the book, A North Korean Regime in the United States.
Right.
It's basically operating as a nation because of its rules. They're told each witness is told to obey the governing body. They worship basically they worship their governing body.
Hmm.
The governing body consists of like 8 men in New York, and So you're told to believe everything the governing body says, yada yada yada. That anybody outside the organization that says anything is not telling the truth, but you have to believe what they say. But the funny thing is, those men are also human. They make mistakes as well. So what's the difference between believing in them and believing anybody else? You know, but oh, it's because God uses them supposedly. That they are the only channel of communication that God uses. So that's how they teach, is that they are the only ones that God uses.
Right, 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 right.
And but I hate to tell them that religion is not gonna, that God doesn't even care about religion. And I'm not trying to preach here, but God works in people's hearts, not through an organization. I mean,
Right.
he uses organizations, but he doesn't say that he's only working through one organization. It doesn't say anything like that in the Bible at all.
Right. Right. Well, I really appreciate you for publishing that material and speaking up and trying to educate people about the truth and trying to keep people away from that. Unfortunately, similarly, in a greater sense to the internet marketing scams we started the episode with,
Yeah,
people, it's very similar. There's some similarity. There's some parallel. People
yeah,
believe these things.
yeah,
Unfortunately, if you get one person to believe it and then they say, okay, give me your credit card, then these things unfortunately then they keep going. But
yeah.
if you could talk to a witness today and ask them only one question, what would you ask?
I don't really know. I'd
That's a good
probably start
answer.
with.
Yeah, because
I'd
probably you
probably,
really can't. That's a fair answer because you probably can't really ask a question when they're in that frame of mind. You
yeah,
can't reason with them really to ask a question. Yeah.
yeah. They have their pet scriptures that they go to, and of course they've twisted scriptures to the point that they've removed the deity of Christ from. They have their own Bible, by the way, called the New World Translation. So they've removed the deity of Christ from the Bible. They don't teach that he physically resurrected. Resurrected. They teach that he resurrected spiritually, which don't make sense. Um, they just come up with all kinds of stuff, and a lot of their
Yeah.
doctrines are just made up as they go. You know.
Right. Right. Yeah. By the way, I'm Jewish, and it definitely doesn't make sense to me. So if I
Yeah.
can't understand if I think it's a little confusing, it probably is. But
Yeah.
this has been there's been a lot of podcasts that have covered this over the years, and this is quite frankly, I think that it's an issue that our country is obviously turning a blind eye to, and it's an issue that it will continue to fester until more people learn from us and learn the
Yeah.
truth. So
Yeah.
thank you. And yeah, you're doing. It sounds like wow. That's the beauty of of having the privilege of being a talk show host and a content creator. I didn't you didn't tell me we were going to get to talk about that, and you didn't know that that's one of my favorite things to talk about. I love talking about that stuff, but
Oh
you
wow. Huh.
didn't. Yeah, yeah. I love hearing the truth about it and hearing the stories. And you didn't know about that, but that's the beauty of podcasting. We have these great stories that come out of the woodwork just by the
Come
love
out.
of
Yeah.
creating content, and that's why it's
Well, it's like
valuable.
it's like my ebooks. When I write them, I love to write because I love sharing. I love sharing information. And so if I could teach somebody something, or if I've learned something, I want to share it with everybody. Hey, this is what I learned. Most of my internet marketing books are instructional material. So I like to teach people stuff because what I've learned, I want to share it. So whatever it is, I'm going to share it. That's why
Right.
I do internet marketing and Christianity, because both topics can teach you stuff.
Right, absolutely. And it seems to me that both topics, both internet marketing and Christianity, can easily be misunderstood.
Yeah.
So I think that's really the intellect here. That's really the crux of the argument, and it's really truly and utterly fascinating conversation as we start to wind down on this hour. I'm sure that you have a lot of questions for Aaron Richmond here, Aaron's opinion. What do you really want to know? I'm positive. Now, in this case, I need you to try to come up with a question.
Huh.
Well, what do you
Uh,
really want to know about me?
well, just how you got in. How did you get into what you do there? How did you start this?
Well, like I was telling you last night in the group, I was, or I don't know what if I specifically was telling you, but I was doing a lot of teaching online, and when I was not teaching, I was listening to other podcasts in the blindness community, not
Ah,
having anything to do with the Christianity stuff we were just talking about. But I was listening to a lot of those podcasts, and I just felt that they just were not, open enough to people's opinions. And being open to people's opinions, I think, is a life skill that blind people and anyone needs to appreciate and learn from. And that's how I created what I do. So I went on Facebook very similarly to what you and some other people in the group have been doing. I went on to Facebook about 3 or 4 years ago, and I started to answer different questions around the blindness community. Someone would come up to me and they would say, "Hey, should I adopt a dog or cat? Should I go to college? Should I do this? How do you talk to this person?" What I would do is I would create an
yeah.
audio file of that answer that I would give them. I would send it back to them and post it in the group. I would say, "Hey, this week someone wants to know this." And then it dawned on me, that's a podcast. And the next thing I knew, you know, Wham Bam Bob's your uncle and Susie's your aunt. We got a thing that's going for years now where blind people are coming out of the woodwork from all over the world, all different
Body,
backgrounds.
and you get to.
The what? What's that?
Oh, I said, well, that's what I like about podcasts. Now, I don't do podcasts myself, but
You should.
I like the I like the idea because it's a radio show. It's
Right.
like the old days of the old days of AM and FM radio, where
Mm-hmm.
when you listen to a talk show, a radio talk show, basically that was, I really believe that's like a podcast because you interview somebody and they talk back, and you learn something from them.
Right. Absolutely, absolutely. So that's how I got into this, and obviously I've had to practice my craft over the years, and figure out. Oh, well, with a Zoom file, it can be turned into a YouTube video, and now I have a following on YouTube, and a lot of different places and things like that. But what I'm noticing something. I'm noticing that you know I think that these things are working
Yeah.
because every guest I get interests me more and more. I
Mm.
love talking to people more and more. And the interesting stories that sneak up right out of the microphone are getting better and better with every week and every episode.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I cannot, yeah.
hopefully I can have you really help me get into this too, because by publishing ebooks and stuff and writing
Mm-hmm.
them, that's going to help, with podcast stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, they'll be able to click the link in the description and learn more about your store. And certainly I'll put the link in the description for them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they'll be
Just
able to
remember
find it.
just remember it's called, this is the whole title, The Plain Text Bookstore.
Right.
Yeah.
Certainly, if you send me the link to it, I'll put it in the description. But I think you pinned a post in the group about it, so I can find it from there. But definitely, if you send me the store, I'll definitely put it in the description, and we'll definitely get more, more people that are genuinely interested. Not only can I try to get you more customers, but I can get you people who not only deserve to learn from your knowledge, but need your knowledge. And
Yeah.
just that
And my
whole,
book,
yes, go ahead.
and I was going to say on my store now, I don't have any images of my books or nothing. There's no graphical images or nothing
Mm-hmm.
because I don't see images. So,
Right.
and I don't have any images. There's descriptions, but I don't have any images. So, for sighted people who go to my store, it's not going to be fancy looking because it's text. It's not fancy, but it's information. That's the main thing.
It's knowledge, right?
Yeah, it's knowledge.
And that's power.
Yep,
So you're
and it's
powerful.
all and it's all in plain text.
Plain
I,
text,
I
plain text power. Yeah.
Yeah, I love text. I love plain text because, like I said, it's so universal. It's so simple. I mean, it's just, Anybody can read it on any platform, any phone, any tablet. You don't need a special program, like I said.
Yeah.
Just anything that can open a text file. There you go. Boom. You can read my books right there.
There you go. There you go. All right then. All right. Well, look, it's been an honor and pleasure to have you on. That's all the time I have, guys. Click the link in the description. Definitely, definitely go over to the Plain Text store. Definitely buy his books about marketing, the truth about marketing, truth about Christianity, all that type of thing. You're doing an incredible job helping blind people and hopefully sighted people all over the
Yeah.
world.
And
Thanks
I
so
add
much.
more and I also add more books as I write them. I add more, so they keep looking, keep checking back too, because I do add more titles in there.
Well, thank you so much. I cannot thank you
Yes,
enough for having me. Thank you for joining me. Another
yes,
tremendous recording. All right then, go check out his store, guys. It's gonna be really cool. I can already tell he's got a lot of knowledge. Thanks so much for joining me, Donald. Stay safe out there. God bless you. Keep up your great work. Keep educating people like I do. And as we say here on the podcast, take care, everyone. Stay safe out there. Help one person today. Help 1 million people tomorrow.